Hi, my name's Mel. Welcome back to my bookshelf, and today we're going to be discussing prolific thriller writer Dean Koontz. So at a young and sprightly 75 years of age, Dean Koontz has put out over 80 books. And the creative juices are still flowing because last week this one was released. It's called Elsewhere and it's a sci-fi thriller. Now, as soon as I read the back of this book, I knew that I had to read it because I'm a huge sci-fi nerd. So just a disclaimer, I was sent Elsewhere by the publisher Harper Collins Australia, but I was under no obligation to review it. So Elsewhere follows single dad Jeffy and his 11-year-old daughter Amity. So 7 years earlier, his wife Michelle, Amity's mother, left them out of the blue, without a trace, just gone. So over the years, Jeffy and Amity befriend a homeless man called Ed, who shows up at their doorstep one night with a small package for Jeffy, saying that this is the key to everything, and frantically says, "You have to hide this, someone's going to come and look for it and they're going to get me." And normally you'd think this was the ravings of a crazy person. Something about the way that Ed was talking got Jeffy thinking that he should probably hide it, and so he does. And a good thing too, because as soon as he hides it, a bunch of scary looking men come in looking for it and for Ed. Jeff has to open the device to hide it, and then it accidentally gets activated. And then they realize the terrifying truth about this device, that it actually shoves whoever uses it into a parallel world. So these parallel worlds differ. So some of these worlds are eerie, similar to theirs, but others are downright terrifying. This provides them with a unique opportunity. Can they see Michelle again? Can they get her back? Now, all books have some good and bad qualities. So I'm going to start with the bad and then go to the good. So my first criticism about this book is that it jumped from perspective to perspective. So although I really liked the short chapters, the perspective jump between each chapters was just a bit much, and sometimes I just thought I was going a bit nuts, thinking that I was looking at one character when it was actually another. Another criticism that I have is that I don't like the way that Koontz writes from a child's perspective. I think that 11-year-old girls, maybe back when he was younger, are maybe a little bit different to the 11-year-old girls now, and just the way that he got inside her head was just it just seemed silly at times. This isn't the first time I felt this way about Dean Koontz's younger characters. I think it was in What the Night Knows. I felt the same way, that his portrayal of the child just didn't work for me. So I think this is the first time I've ever read a Koontz book and wanted it to be bigger, because I think there's just so much more he could have done with the concept. So many more worlds they could have explored, so many more scary things that could have happened. I found myself getting towards the end of the book and sort of looking at how many pages I had left and just thinking, oh, is that it? Like, I just felt a bit let down. He's got infinite parallel worlds. He could have done a bit more with it. I'm not saying that it wasn't enjoyable, because it was. I stayed up till 2 a.m. reading this book, but I just wish there was a little bit more meat in it. The ending was a bit of a disappointment for me as well. I thought that he sort of wrapped everything up in a nice little package, whereas he could have done so much more, had more twists and turns. It just felt a bit lackluster for me. Now to the good stuff. Koontz really knows how to write a good bad guy, like a scary good bad guy, like crazy, screwed in the head characters are his forte. Another thing I really loved about this book were the short chapters, because I've got 2 kids. I don't know, those of you who've got kids out there can relate, but I don't get any reading done during the day. So having these short chapters was really handy when the kids were doing something and I had 5 minutes to myself where I could actually get some of the book read. Sometimes you've got books that have chapters that are 100 plus pages long, and you start reading a bit of it, and then by the time you get back to it, you're totally lost. So I really appreciated the short, concise chapters. It was easy to read, it was fun, it was imaginative, it had a really great premise, and I really quite enjoyed it. So what would I rate Elsewhere? Well, I really enjoyed it. It had its issues, but it still kept me up till 2 in the morning, so you can't argue with that. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. So if you enjoyed Elsewhere, or you like the concept of parallel worlds, Blake Crouch has put out 2 books called Dark Matter and Recursion that deal with similar concepts, and they'd be right up your alley. So thank you for joining me on Mel's Bookshelf. We'll see you at the next review. For more reviews, check out my blog. The link's in the description below.